What happens when a CEO trades his suit for coveralls and finds out his managers are hiding more than just dirty floors? Calder Simmons stood outside the 12th location of his fast-growing grocery chain, a quiet store tucked between a strip mall and a gas station on the edge of town. It had been 7 years since he'd launched the company from a single location with his brother, who passed away just before their first big expansion. Calder had poured everything into the business since. But now, something didn't sit right. Sales numbers at Store 12 had started slipping 3 months ago. Customer complaints had gone up. Nothing big, just small things: long checkout lines, dirty aisles, a few cold stares. His district manager, Mike, blamed it on staffing issues. "We lost 2 part-timers and the night shift janitor," Mike had said over the phone. "We're stretched thin, but it's under control." Still, Calder had a hunch. Something felt off. He hadn't personally visited this store since it opened, and none of the employees here had met him in person. Most only knew his name from a training video or the signature at the bottom of the employee handbook. So he made a plan. He shaved his beard, dyed his hair a lighter brown, put on a pair of thick-rimmed glasses and a baseball cap. Then, wearing steel-toed boots, oversized coveralls, and a laminated trainee badge that read, "Cody," Calder walked into Store 12 just past 5 a.m. The place smelled like stale mop water. "Hey, you the new maintenance guy?" a tired voice called from behind the service counter. Calder turned. A tall woman with sharp cheekbones and a bun pulled so tight it looked painful waved him over. "I'm Tasha, assistant manager," she said without looking him in the eye. "Clock in, then grab the mop cart. Spills in aisle 5 and near produce. Oh, and bring gloves this time. Last guy quit after someone puked by the dairy case." Calder nodded. "Got it. No welcome. No intro. Just orders." He grabbed the cart and rolled it to aisle 5. A sticky orange puddle stretched across the floor. The spill looked like it had been sitting there for hours. Slips waiting to happen. As he mopped, a young cashier with a pixie cut and a nervous smile walked by. "You're new?" she asked. "I'm Tara. If you need anything, just ask me, okay? Don't let Tasha scare you." He smiled. "Thanks. I'm Cody." Tara paused, then glanced around. "Just be careful around Rob and Tasha. They don't like people asking questions." "Noted." By noon, Calder had cleaned vomit in the dairy aisle, scraped gum off the bathroom sinks, and found an open mouse trap behind the cereal shelf, still baited, but forgotten. No one had offered to help. At one point, Calder passed by the break room and overheard voices. "Another spill in frozen. Just cover it with a wet floor sign. We don't have time to clean it up." He stopped. Tasha's voice again. "If corporate asks, say it was handled. No photos. No incident reports. Got it?" A male voice, deeper, flat. "Got it. They never check anyway." Calder's stomach twisted. He headed to frozen. There, under bright fluorescent lights, he found it. A melted bag of peas had burst open across the tile. The green mess stretched down the aisle. Instead of being cleaned, it was surrounded by 3 wet floor signs in a triangle. He stood there, mop in hand, stunned. This wasn't lazy. This was policy. "Cody!" Tasha barked from the other end of the aisle. "What are you doing?" "That's been dealt with. It's still on the floor," Calder said. She walked over, arms crossed. "We've got bigger problems than a little mess. You're here to do what we say, not play hero." He opened his mouth but stopped. He couldn't blow his cover yet. Not now. Later that afternoon, he found Tara in the back room, restocking paper bags. "Do they always just leave spills?" Calder asked. She hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah. Rob says it's cheaper to settle a slipped claim than pay overtime. They don't want to look bad on the reports." Calder clenched his jaw. "How long's that been going on?" "Since before I got here. I tried reporting it once. Rob gave me the worst shifts for a week. Told me to mind my business. He looked at her closer. Her eyes were tired but honest. She deserved better. Thanks for telling me, Tara. That night, Calder sat in his car across the parking lot, thinking. He had trusted Mike to keep these stores running clean and safe. But this wasn't just laziness, it was a culture of cutting corners. And it started at the top. Tomorrow, he'd dig deeper. But one thing was already certain. Someone was going to answer for this. The next morning, Calder arrived an hour earlier, 4 in the morning, hoping to catch the opening shift before things got busy. The lot was dark except for a single flickering light near the loading dock. A delivery truck was idling behind the store, and a guy in a faded hoodie was unloading crates alone. Calder approached. Need a hand? The man didn't look up. If you've got 2 arms and don't ask questions, sure. They worked in silence, stacking boxes of produce onto the metal cart. The guy moved fast, clearly used to doing this without help. After the 3rd trip inside, Calder caught his name from the clipboard, Andre. You always work the dock solo? Calder asked as they wheeled the last load into the walk-in cooler. Andre rubbed his neck, finally making eye contact. Not supposed to. We were down 2 guys last week. One got transferred, the other quit. They didn't replace either of them. Said we're in a hiring freeze? His tone made it clear what he thought of that. Calder nodded. You get paid overtime for covering both shifts? Andre scoffed. I get told I should feel lucky to have hours. And that I'm setting an example. Whatever that means. Before Calder could respond, a voice echoed from the hallway. Let's go, Cody. I need the bakery floor cleaned before we open. Tasha. Andre gave a quick nod and disappeared into the cooler. 5 minutes later, Calder was on his knees scraping dried batter off the tile under the prep table. The baker, a middle-aged woman with deep lines around her eyes and flour on her apron, was piping icing onto donuts nearby. She didn't say much until she glanced down and asked, You knew? 2nd day. Keep your head down, she muttered. They don't like people asking why things are the way they are. He stayed quiet, but noted the comment. It matched everything he'd seen so far. By late morning, Calder had rotated between 5 different tasks, none of which were technically maintenance. He'd been asked to stock shelves, clean up a shattered jar and baby food, and restock plastic bags, all while still expected to mop and sanitize the backroom by lunch. He finally caught Tara in the stockroom again, this time breaking down boxes alone. You don't have help? He asked. She shook her head. I'm supposed to. But the other stocker called out, and Tasha said we didn't need to call in coverage. That allowed? Doesn't matter if it is. They just say it's temporary and move on. He picked up a box cutter and helped break down cartons. After a pause, he asked, What's Rob like? She hesitated, then answered carefully. He's cold. Doesn't yell, doesn't curse. But if he decides you're a problem, your hours disappear. You get stuck on back-to-back closes, or he puts you on freezer rotation during truck days. That legal? Probably not. But try proving it. Everyone's scared. No one wants to speak up and lose rent money. A voice cut through the hallway. Cody breaks over. You're not hourly, remember? It was Rob. He was shorter than Calder expected, with stiff posture and a voice that carried without needing volume. He wore a manager's polo, tucked too neatly into his slacks. His shoes were spotless. Calder followed him into the office. Rob motioned to a chair but didn't sit. I hear you've been wandering, Rob said. Helping where I can. They seemed short-staffed. Let me make something clear. We have a system. You're here to clean. Not to make friends. Not to play hero. Calder kept his expression flat. Was just trying to be useful. Rob leaned forward. Useful is invisible. You do your job, keep your head down, and don't ask about things that aren't your concern. That clear? Crystal. Rob turned without another word and left. Calder stood slowly. The office had a small bulletin board with faded schedules and a laminated list of store values. Below it, a payroll notice pinned with a thumbtack had a handwritten note. No OT without prior approval R. Back on the floor, the pace picked up. The aisles filled with customers, but there were only 2 open registers. Tara was juggling a long line while the other cashier, a teenager barely out of high school, looked overwhelmed. Calder noticed the self-checkout area was roped off. He found Andre restocking produce. Why isn't self-checkout running? Rob pulled 2 scanners to cut maintenance costs. Said we'd save more in repairs than we'd lose in time. So now you're short-staffed and short lanes. Andre gave a crooked smile. Welcome to Store 12. By late afternoon, a customer tripped near the soda end cap. Calder saw it happen. An older woman slipped on a faint smear of something sticky near the corner. He rushed over, helped her up, and checked for injuries. She was shaken, but not hurt. Tasha arrived seconds later. Ma'am, are you all right? Let's get you a chair. She turned to Calder, eyes narrowing. Go get the mop. He hesitated. We should file a report. Her voice dropped. I said clean it up. He didn't move. Tasha stepped closer. Do it, or don't come back tomorrow. The woman was now seated in a nearby chair, sipping water a customer had brought her. Calder crouched beside her. Just to be safe, someone should check you out. We have an incident form I can get. Tasha hissed through her teeth. We don't need to scare her. Rob arrived. He nodded once at Tasha and turned to the woman. We're very sorry. If there's anything you need, let us know. No one warned me that was wet, the woman said. I understand. Thank you for your patience. Rob replied, his tone flat. Cody, clean this up. Calder stood. Not until we log it. Rob's eyes narrowed. Are you refusing a direct instruction? I'm saying we need to follow protocol. Rob took a step forward, his face unreadable. You're done here. Calder didn't flinch. I was hoping you'd say that. Rob blinked. Excuse me? Calder pulled the laminated badge from his chest and dropped it on the floor. Then he removed the cap and glasses. Tasha's face drained of color. Rob's jaw tightened. My name is Calder Simmons. I own this company. Silence fell. Tara, Andre, and 2 cashiers had turned from their stations. The woman in the chair stared with wide eyes. Calder looked at Rob. You're finished. Then to Tasha. So are you. Tasha opened her mouth then closed it. Calder turned to the injured customer. Ma'am, I'll make sure you get whatever care you need, and someone from our safety team will contact you today. He turned to the employees still watching. We'll be shutting this store down for 72 hours. Not for punishment, for repairs, staffing, and full evaluation. Anyone who's been pulling double duty or stuck under bad leadership will be heard. Then to Tara, who was frozen behind her register. You're off the schedule for the next 2 days. With pay. And when we reopen, you'll have a new title, assistant store lead. You've earned it. She stared at him, stunned. Are you serious? Yes. And Andre, I want you in charge of dock operations full-time. Salary. Benefits. You've been holding this place together. Andre nodded once, slow, still processing. Calder looked around one last time. This isn't who we are. And it won't be again. Then he walked out the front doors, the sun just starting to drop behind the trees, as stunned employees and customers stood in silence behind him. Calder stood beside the company SUV in the back lot behind Store 12, its engine still warm from the drive up the coast. The sun had dropped behind the low hills, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. He dialed his CO directly. No texts. No middlemen. Ellen, I need you in town by tomorrow morning. Bring HR and facilities. We're freezing operations at Store 12 for 72 hours. We need a full audit, staffing, safety, compliance, everything. Her voice didn't waver. Understood. What are we walking into? Leadership failure. Deep. Systemic. I'll brief you when you land. He hung up without another word. An hour later, Calder sat with Tara and Andre at a corner table in the now closed break room. The blinds were drawn. No one else was left in the building except a security contractor taking inventory of the keys and locks. Tara kept glancing at the door. You sure we're okay to be here? Yes, Calder said. This is your store as much as mine. And I need you both to walk me through what I missed. Andre leaned back, arms crossed. I don't even know where to start. Start with how long things have been like this, Calder said. I need specifics. Tara's eyes didn't leave the table. It got worse about a year ago. That's when Rob stopped scheduling team huddles. Said they were a waste of time. Tasha backed him up. Anyone who disagreed got fewer hours, Andre added. And when the shift leads left, they weren't replaced. That left openers like me covering closing prep. I'd done 14-hour days. Nobody logged it. Calder's jaw tightened. And no one reported it? I tried, Andre said. Called the hotline once. Was on hold for 20 minutes. Gave up. Figured it wasn't worth losing my job. Tara finally looked up. Most of us thought corporate knew that this is just how you wanted things run. Calder's voice dropped. I didn't build this company to grind people down. I trusted the wrong people. That ends now. A quiet knock at the break room door interrupted them. Calder stood and opened it. A woman in a gray cardigan and slacks stood awkwardly in the doorway, holding a worn binder. Sorry, she said. I didn't know if I should come in. I'm Elise. Front office admin. Well, was. I guess I still am? Calder motioned her in. Come sit. You're not in trouble. She hesitated, then stepped inside and sat opposite Tara. I heard what happened, Elise said. I wanted you to see something. She opened the binder and slid a printed page across the table. It was a schedule from 8 weeks ago. Several names were scratched out and rewritten. Next to the notes were margin scribbles. No OT, keep off same day, too friendly with customers. Andre leaned in. You kept copies of this? I made them for myself, Elise said. Rob didn't allow us to keep digital backups. He said paper leaves less of a trail. I didn't feel right deleting everything. Calder scanned the page. These edits, he was targeting people? Yes, Elise said. Anyone who challenged him. Or who customers liked too much. He said strong personalities disrupt order. Calder looked at her. Why didn't you come forward sooner? She folded her hands tightly. I needed the job. I have a daughter. And Rob made it clear if you cross him, you disappear from the schedule. Tara's voice was quiet. That's what happened to Cam. Calder turned to her. Who's Cam? He was a scanner tech. Smart guy. Customers loved him. He helped train new hires even though it wasn't his job. One day he corrected Tasha on a scanner error in front of a district rep. Next week he had no hours. Then he was let go for inconsistency. He didn't even get a write-up, Andre added. Same with Jenny. She refused to skip a spill report. 2 weeks later, she was transferred to a location 40 miles away. Couldn't afford the gas. She quit. Calder stood. I need contact info for both. We're making this right. Elise nodded. I have their numbers. I'll send them to HR. Calder turned to the group. Thank you. All of you. Tomorrow, we start rebuilding. By morning, the audit team had arrived. Ellen moved like a war general, sharp, direct, and tireless. Within the first hour, she had Rob's office sealed, logs pulled from the point-of-sale system, and 2 compliance officers reviewing camera footage. Calder stood in the back room as facilities began removing expired inventory. A clipboard hung crooked on the wall. He pulled it down. It was a shift checklist, barely filled out. No initials. No timestamps. He handed it to Ellen. This is what passed for oversight. She didn't blink. Not anymore. Outside, a whiteboard had been wheeled into the front lobby. Staff input was written across the top in thick black marker. Below it, employees who'd returned to assist with the audit were scribbling notes anonymously or otherwise. One note read, "We don't want a bonus. We want schedule stability." Another, "Fix the air conditioning in the break room. It's been broken for 2 summers." Calder read every one. Later that afternoon, he met with the remaining team in the employee area, those who had not resigned or been dismissed. Many looked cautious, unsure if this was another talk with no follow-through. He didn't sugarcoat it. "I let this store rot," Calder said. "I handed power to people who cared more about control than care. That's on me." No one interrupted. "But that ends here. We're not patching this up. We're rebuilding it. And we're doing it with you, not around you." A hand went up. It was an older man from the meat department, sleeves stained from a half-day of prep. "What happens to the ones who left? The ones who got pushed out?" "We're reaching out to every one of them," Calder said. "Anyone forced out unfairly will be offered their position back, with retroactive pay where applicable. And for those who don't want to return, we'll still make it right." A woman from the bakery stepped forward. "Will things actually change? Or is this just for show?" He met her gaze. "You'll tell me. If we slide backward, I want to hear it before it becomes a problem. And we're setting up a direct reporting channel that skips district entirely. You report to corporate oversight. No intermediaries." She nodded once, still skeptical, but listening now. Outside, the store remained closed. Inside, the foundation was shifting. Ellen approached Calder near the loading dock. "We're terminating Rob and Tasha for cause. Full documentation. Legal's already reviewing the backup files Elise kept." "Good," Calder said. "Any sign of retaliation claims?" "None yet. But we're flagging every schedule Rob touched. We'll catch patterns." He exhaled slowly, eyes on the horizon. "I want this store to set the new standard. Not the cautionary tale." Ellen didn't smile. But she didn't have to. "We're on it." As the sun dipped behind the trees again, Calder stepped into the now silent sales floor. The lights were dimmed, the aisles empty. A box of recovered comment cards sat on the customer service desk. He opened the top one. It read, "Give your staff more power. They care more than your managers do." He folded it shut and placed it back in the box. Tomorrow, the rebuild would begin. But tonight, the reckoning was complete. The store reopened on a Friday morning under gray skies and quiet anticipation. The front doors remained locked until Calder gave the signal from just inside the vestibule. He stood next to Ellen and 2 newly promoted regional safety coordinators, both brought in from unaffected locations. They weren't here to supervise, they were here to listen. Tara stood beside the newly installed self-checkout area, now fully functional with repaired scanners and a dedicated monitor station. She wore a deep navy polo with the company's embroidered logo, and a name badge that read, "Tara Assistant Lead." Her hair was tied back neatly, but her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the scanner base. "Ready?" Calder asked. She swallowed, then nodded. "Yeah. Let's do this." He turned to the assistant from facilities. "Open the doors." A modest line of customers entered slowly, some curious, others cautious. Most had heard rumors. A few had seen the official apology letter Calder insisted be sent out to every customer who had filed a complaint in the past 6 months. It didn't offer excuses. Just acknowledgement and an invitation to return. The first customer, an elderly man in a tan coat, paused just inside the threshold. He looked around, taking in the clean floors, the new signage, and the freshly stocked produce bins. He walked straight to Andre, who was stacking apples under a heat lamp to keep condensation off the fruit. "You're still here," the man said. Andre nodded. "Didn't plan on leaving." The man gave a small nod of approval. "Place already feels different." Andre didn't reply, but his posture eased. In the back room, Elise had been reassigned to a new role, internal compliance liaison. Her job was simple: create a transparent line of communication between floor employees and corporate. She now reported directly to Ellen's team, bypassing district entirely. She stood at a folding table, reviewing feedback forms from the previous day's team listening session. One caught her attention. It wasn't anonymous. "I'd stay here another 5 years if I didn't have to feel like I was disposable just for asking basic questions." She clipped it to the top of the stack. Meanwhile, Calder met with the new store manager, Marcus, a steady presence with a background in operations and no prior ties to Rob or his leadership circle. He had relocated from another district voluntarily, after hearing what had happened. "I've read the full audit. I know where the rot was, I know who was caught in it," Marcus said. "You'll have full discretion on hiring and scheduling. But transparency is non-negotiable," Calder said. Marcus nodded. "I've already posted the first 2 weeks of schedules. No shift changes without written approval and signature from the employee." Calder glanced through the break room window. A pair of cashiers were sipping coffee, finally allowed to take their 10-minute breaks without being monitored. For now, the store was operating on a reduced schedule, 8 hours a day instead of 12, to give the team time to recover and reset. Payroll had approved temporary staffing transfers from nearby locations to cover gaps, and Calder had personally signed off on the increased costs. At 11 a.m., a woman named Jenny stepped through the front doors. She carried a small tote bag and wore a windbreaker embroidered with the name of the old location she'd been transferred to. Calder met her near the dairy section. "You came back," he said. She nodded. "Tara called me. Said you weren't just talking this time. I wasn't aware of what happened to you." "I am now," he said. "Your position is open. Same pay, same title. Retroactive back pay for the weeks you lost. And a formal apology written and signed." Jenny looked around the store. "Is Andre still here?" "He is." She smiled faintly. "Then yeah. I'll stay." By early afternoon, the store had settled into a quiet rhythm. The atmosphere wasn't festive, it was measured, steady. A team recovering, not celebrating. No one forgot what they'd been through. In the new office upstairs, Calder met with legal and HR to finalize the last few unresolved items. Elise had compiled documentation linking Rob's management decisions to over a dozen complaints involving targeted scheduling, unreported safety incidents, and falsified logs. "We've reviewed the footage," the HR director said. "There's one more thing." She pushed forward a manila file. Calder opened it. Inside were stills from security footage captured outside the stockroom 2 weeks prior. Rob was standing with a younger worker, Cam, the scanner tech Tara had mentioned. The timestamps aligned with the day Cam's hours were suddenly cut. In one of the images, Rob could be seen holding up a printout with Cam's name circled. His expression was unreadable. The following image showed Cam walking away, shoulders low. A final frame captured Rob placing the paper into a shredder. They'd recovered the shredded document from the office bin. It was a positive customer review for Cam. Handwritten. Signed. Folded into a performance recommendation. Calder looked up. "You're certain?" "Positive match. Legal confirmed." Cam's termination was retaliatory. "Get him on the phone," Calder said. "Now." Cam arrived the next morning. Calder met him in the stockroom, the same place Cam had been pushed out of weeks earlier. This time, the door was open, the lights bright, and the air cold from the newly serviced air unit. "I don't expect you to take this offer," Calder said. "But I want you to hear it." Cam crossed his arms. "I'm listening." Full reinstatement. Title bump to tech support lead. Relocation stipend if you want to stay. Or if you choose not to return, we'll issue a formal letter of exoneration and a signed recommendation for wherever you go next. Cam studied him for a long moment. "You actually care. Or you got caught?" "Both," Calder said. "I should have known sooner." That's on me. Cam looked around. Store feels different. It is, Calder said. But it's not fixed. That takes time. And people who care. Cam nodded once. I'll stay. But I want one thing. Name it. No more silence. If someone's getting pushed out, I want a way to stop it before it happens. You'll have it, Calder said. We're building that system now. You'll help us test it. As Kim walked off to start his re-onboarding, Calder stepped back into the store. The rain had started again, light and steady. Customers moved through the aisles without dodging spills or waiting 20 minutes in line. Employees wore name tags with updated titles, and the walls near the break room now featured a rotating display of employee-submitted ideas, reviewed weekly by a new internal committee. Calder paused near the customer service counter, where a young boy was pointing at a row of candy bars. His mother was reading a sign posted just above the counter. It read, "If something doesn't feel right, tell us. We'll listen. No exceptions." She looked down at her son, smiled, and handed him $2. Then she looked at the employee behind the counter, Tara, and said, "Place looks cleaner. People seem happier." Tara responded without hesitation, "We're building something better." Calder turned and stepped outside into the rain, letting it soak into the shoulders of his jacket. He didn't rush. This wasn't redemption. It was responsibility. And he was finally carrying it the right way.